Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity to tell you about what's happening at the FDA. We have a team of more than 18,000 employees, including 10,000 scientists, doctors, pharmacists, and nurses. And they've been working around the clock because, as you probably know, many of the medical products that are being used for the COVID-19 outbreak are, in fact, regulated by FDA. The staff have been hard at work authorizing tests and other medical products. As part of these efforts to support diagnostic test development during this global pandemic, the President has asked us, and under his leadership, to actually cut down as many barriers as we possibly could to get medical products into the medical community, and we have done that, of course, recognizing the urgency of the situation. I do want to emphasize what the President said, that is that we are very much paying attention to safety and with respect to tests, validity, and reliability of those tests. And I think it's really important to understand how far we've come in just a few short months. The academic community, which I come from, the private sector, the government, we've come together to develop diagnostics for a completely new infectious disease. And it's really important. We've heard from many test developers, both in academia and in the manufacturing world. This normally takes years to develop. You've heard Dr. Birx talk about the fact that HIV tests have taken many, many years to develop. This has happened in weeks and months. And we've been laser focused on working with both industry and academia to actually make this happen. To date, under our emergency use authorization approach, we've quickly reviewed and authorized 63 tests, both diagnostic as well as serologic, that is the antibody test. We've had several point-of-care tests, and that's important because those can be done in the emergency room or in a doctor's office, et cetera, and much more convenient for the patient. And this week, as the President said, we authorized the first at-home test by a company called LabCorp. This is a test where, under certain circumstances with a doctor's supervision, a test can be mailed to a patient, and the patient can perform the self-swab and then mail it back and get the results after that time, all under the guidance of a licensed physician. And we're not just letting up with these 63 tests we've approved. We are working with more than 400 test developers who are pursuing authorization for their diagnostics under our current policies. And under our regulatory approach, which is quite flexible, many other tests are becoming available. We have heard and have reported to us 220 labs around the country have begun patient testing using their own validated tests. This has allowed us to increase significantly tests around the country. I updated you earlier this week on serologic tests, these antibody tests that are used to detect natural immunity, and the FDA's approach to help make these tests available. While these are just one part of our larger response effort, they can play a role in helping move our economy forward by helping healthcare professionals identify those who have immunity to the COVID-19. And just finally, when it comes to therapeutics, we are leaving no stone unturned in finding treatments for COVID-19. You do know that we don't have any approved currently therapeutics for COVID-19, but we are actively involved with both the academic and the commercial and private sector to find those. 72 trials of therapeutics are underway in the United States under FDA oversight, and 211 are in the planning stages. So we expect to see more. This includes convalescent plasma as well as antiviral therapies. Work continues on vaccines, and 2 firms have announced that the FDA has authorized their trials to go forward, one of which we've mentioned here before. And finally, in response to the President's and task force requests, we've stood up the Coronavirus Treatment Acceleration Program. We are leaving no stone unturned, as I said, and we're working around the clock to develop these therapeutics for the American people. Thank you very much.
Dr. Hahn, a question about antibody tests, please.
Go ahead, Dr.
It's a quick question, and it's timely because just about an hour ago, a subcommittee with oversight released some findings that the FDA doesn't have any review of the antibody tests that are on the market. There are no guidelines to tell which ones should be out there, and there's no way to test their accuracy. They're quite worried that these are junk tests on the market because they weren't reviewed before they were approved. Is that true?
So under our policy, we provide a flexibility. What we've told manufacturers is that in order to market in the U.S., they have to validate their tests. They have to tell us that they validated their tests. And then in the package insert, they have to let people know, end users, labs, et cetera, that those tests were not authorized by FDA. We've authorized 4. As I mentioned, more in the pipeline. And these tests that have come in without any information to us but have been self-validated, as I mentioned at the podium a couple days ago, we are working with the National Cancer Institute as well as CDC to perform our own validation of the tests that have been sent to us. So we'll provide as much information as we possibly can. And there is transparency on our website about those tests and also the tests that we have authorized.
Have you gotten
Thank you very
information?
much, Mike, please.